The HomeTech podcast is supported by you. To find out more, go to HomeTech.fm/support. This is the HomeTech podcast for Friday, January 24th. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson, and not joined by Jason from Denver, Colorado, but instead our hashtag not Jason fill-in, Cody Crossland, at the last minute in a pinch, joins us again a full year later from the last time he was on the show. Cody, how's it going, man?
It's going well. I don't want to overstay my welcome, so I think, once a year is probably a good interval.
And you know what? Once a year is not a bad interval. I was looking at the show a year ago, and we were at that time talking about a project for you, and a TV that you were going to hang. And I don't know. Like, did you hang the TV a full year later?
Eventually, I finally got around to it, and it did take me a full year later. Yeah, I finally broke down and replaced the temporary 50-inch TV that I had there, and just decided to mount it in that cubby space. But I did an articulating mount for the new 65-inch LG OLED that I picked up.
Nice. Oh, wow. LG OLED. Very nice. I have the LG LED TVs. I'm not too impressed with those, but the OLEDs look great.
They really do. And it was one of those things I made the mistake of showing my wife. She fell in love with it, and you couldn't talk her out of it. So. Nice.
Well, that's even better. my wife texted me today, do we want a 5-year-old LG TV? I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't, even a free one 5 years ago. I don't know.
To be fair, I still have the Panasonic Plasma that I bought in 2007, and that thing's still going strong, still has great picture quality. It's in the master bedroom, but I noticed the other day that whenever I have the fan on at night and you turn the TV on, you can hear the fan slow down because of the amount of the electricity that the plasma draws. It's so great. Also makes for a great space eater.
Nice. Well, with that new 65-inch OLED, you can watch the impeachment hearings. I think those are important. So I'm going to, over our podcast, I'm going to play those in the background right now. So that's going to play. And I don't know if you can hear those. No, wait, that's not it.
That's totally it.
That is it. All right. So that's going to play in the background for the entire podcast, the impeachment trial. And it's a circus. That's all I'm saying. All right. So anyway, a couple things happened this week in the news. So Cody, what do you say we jump into some HomeTech headlines?
Yeah, let's do it.
Frontier Communications is planning to file for bankruptcy within 2 months. Bloomberg reported last week. The telco is asking creditors to help craft a turnaround deal that includes filing for bankruptcy from the middle of March. According to people with knowledge of the matter, Frontier offers residential and business services in 29 states over its fiber and copper networks. Frontier offers broadband TV and home phone services, and reported revenue of $2 billion and a net loss of $345 million in the most recent quarter. Frontier has been losing customers and reducing its staff. Its residential customer base dropped from 4.15 million to 3.81 million in a 12-month period ending back in September, and including 90,000 customers in the most recent quarter. Also, in that 12-month period, Frontier's business customer base declined from 422,000 to 381,000. Frontier's financial performance last year was so bad that it refused to take any questions from investors during its quarterly earnings call in August.
Ouch.
Wow. I did not see that coming. That's a big one.
I didn't either. It was pretty popular here in North Texas in the areas that you could actually get it because they offered fiber internet connectivity. And, you'd have plans like 150 down, 150 up. But it seems to be that their existing analog phone networks and the maintenance associated with those and the lack of expansion in the fiber areas here in North Texas market anyway, it seems like that's really kind of doing them in.
Well, yeah, and the sad part is, so Frontier wasn't Frontier when they first started out here. They were Verizon Fios. And then,
same here.
Yeah, Frontier bought that from Verizon when they exited. But yeah, Verizon went up to a point and then they stopped investing in fiber rollouts. And it was hugely popular. People loved them. Then Frontier bought them, and then everybody hated Frontier and their lousy customer service. I remember I had family members that had Frontier or Fios and went through the transition into Frontier, and there was they lost all service for a month, and we're still getting billed for it. And they were just Frontier had no idea what to do. The horror stories that were going on back then were just insane. And I guess their customer service hasn't gotten very much better. So, unfortunately, unfortunately, that's what can happen. Seems like it was just like cobbled together. Like reading this article, like they have a ton of different types of networks that they've been acquiring over the years. Like they have the fiber networks, they have the fiber services, they have copper based, like you can tell they have DSL stuff still out there. Like it sounds like it's just a ton of different,
like a hodgepodge.
A hodgepodge of stuff of businesses that they're just kind of like cobbled together, and at the end of the day, not run very well. From what I've seen, at least as a customer on my side. I kind of mentioned last week that I was like trying to help a Frontier upgrade happen the other day. There were actually two of them, and from some old longtime clients, they called me up and they're like, "Hey, we want to do this upgrade." And I'm like, well, "All right." I mean, it sounds good. The Frontier was offering them to go to like 300 or a gig or something like that at like for no cost. It was like $25 more a month or something for them. So they were just like, this sounds great. Yeah, no brainer. I don't even need to call Seth. Frontier gets out there and like just starts tearing stuff apart. The whole system's down for a day. And then they call me and they're like, "Hey, this guy doesn't know what he's doing." So they pretty much had to roll back the first install. The second one, luckily he was like, "Hey, can you come out and just make sure this guy doesn't mess anything up?" I went out there and made sure the guy didn't mess anything up, and had to basically tell him how to tone wires from one point to the other. So after all that was said and done, they have faster internet at this other place, but the other one, he still has the relatively slow internet that he had before, unfortunately. So I don't know. It seems like it would be a no-brainer to flip a switch on their end, but they have to mess everything up somehow, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if anybody's going to take over their existing network infrastructure that they have. I wonder if AT&T will buy it for like pennies on the dollar.
But AT&T already sold Uverse to Frontier, so it's kind of like there's nowhere for these networks to go. I mean, somebody has to buy them, right? I mean, I can't imagine the areas that are completely covered with Frontier are just going to be ceded back over to Comcast. Is that what's going to happen?
I don't know. Comcast exited here in North Texas and they swapped it for Time Warner. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Hopefully there's different options for folks. I mean, here at my house, I have the option of AT&T DSL or Time Warner Cable Gigabit, which is just Gigabit on the downside. So you can probably guess which service I picked.
The Gigabit service?
Hey, there you go.
Ding, ding. Hold on. There we go. All right. Had to think about that one a little bit. Well, moving on. Starting in May 2020, Sonos has announced it will end software support updates for some of its older products, saying those products have reached the end of their useful life. Products affected include the Zone players, Connect Amp, First Generation Play 5, the CR200, and Bridge. Customers can either continue to use their older Sonos systems for, who knows how long, or receive a 30% discount on an upgrade to a new Sonos wireless audio system. This is kind of that trade-up program that they've been offering for a couple months now. Sonos made the announcement in an email going out to customers and in a blog post on its website. This was kind of like a big to-do. Again, Sonos seems to keep making the news from angry people who are angry about being offered 30% off on new product.
So mad about a discount.
Yeah, that you don't even have to take. But I don't know. People seem to be upset that what I've gathered from all this is that people seem to be upset about having to possibly update something that is in the realm of 5 to 10 years old that still works perfectly fine. Like, because you can't kill the Sonos. The audio quality is still good on it.
Yeah.
But from what the only thing I can gather is like, yeah, this thing works great. Why do I have to upgrade it? That's the only thing that I can get out of it.
Yeah, I think the appropriate action would be is if you don't want to upgrade, you take zero upgrade, you just keep using it the way that you're using it and everything works fine. I don't know. I think this is kind of overhyped personally, but also I come from the IT industry where, you're talking about a 10-year-old computer. They're not going to keep doing updates for that. That's old, ancient hardware.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking from the development standpoint. Like it's ancient hardware that you have to keep coding into old code bases, or you have to keep like, there may be memory limits and different requirements. Like they want to move to a new platform where they have feature completeness across all their products. And they can't do that if they are holding on to the old stuff. Now the old stuff, from all indications, the old stuff continues to work 10 years later. But if like somebody like maybe Pandora comes along and does a big update, I mean, we've seen this happen before. Pandora has done an update, or Spotify does a big update to their API that Sonos works with. Those services may just drop off and stop working. Things like TuneIn and stuff that's kind of older like that probably will still continue to work, just with no problem. But I don't know. Like it seems like it seems like to me it's a big to do about nothing. But the biggest, I can understand that it can sting a little bit. Say you brought like a bunch of Connect amps, maybe
late in the life cycle,
5 years ago. Yeah. If you have 20 zones of Connect amps and you got this email, and the email was not like the greatest, it said something along the lines of like, there's a problem with your Sonos system, something along those lines. Like it was kind of jarring to get and read. So I can understand why people were kind of freaking out about this before they really kind of looked into it and saw what was going on. But I don't know. It just kind of seems to me that it's a big to do about nothing. People want to complain and just gripe about it.
Yeah, I think they would definitely have more of a point if they had just decided to say, hey, you've got this older product and that's it. We're discontinuing services. Like some of these Internet of Things startups, you get invested into an ecosystem, then all of a sudden you get an email. It's like, hey, by the way, a month from now, we're shutting down our servers. So long and thanks for all the cash, right?
Right.
That would be a completely different approach to it. And perhaps maybe they just have a messaging problem. Maybe if they just communicated their message a little bit and their intent a little bit better, maybe they wouldn't be out with the pitchforks and the tiki torches.
Yeah, it seems like there's been a lot of like almost like foot and mouth syndrome. I don't know. Sonos is trying to like put the best lipstick on this pig that they can, right? I mean, they want, you clearly can read the tea leaves that they want to end support for these products. And the way I'm seeing it is that like the first thing they came out with is like, okay, here's a recycling program. This trade up program, you can recycle your old equipment. What we're going to do is we're going to brick it for you. It'll never work again. You can plug it in, do all you want to it. It just won't identify as a Sonos product anymore. And that angered a bunch of people basically for the reason that like it's not really recycling, because you can't take the product and sell it on eBay, or an electronics reseller can't take the product and restore it and then resell it. So it's not really recycling. It's basically bricking something to throw it away. Yeah, Bruno has a point. This is not green. It is not green. No, it's not. The green thing to do would to be basically the first part of recycling, the mantra of recycling is reduce, right? So reduce means you don't buy the new thing. But if you were in the market to upgrade your Sonos product, you do have that option to basically brick your product and set it off on a shelf somewhere and have a 30% off coupon for new junk that you want. I had an old Connect kind of hanging around my house, and it wasn't plugged in or anything, but I got the email that said, hey, you need to do this trade up thing or not. And I was like, well, like the Connect doesn't do anything, so I'm going to do the 30% upgrade. And, I'm not going to throw the Connect away. Guess where the Connect went? Went right over onto the shelf with the rest of my my products go that live in the graveyard. So like, that's truly recycling. I have a 30% coupon and I have a new piece for the museum. So I'm sitting happy.
So you got 30% off discount on something that you're still not going to use, but at least it's current product. Well, and then for the old one, you can use it as an indoor planner, right?
Yes, exactly. Like, well, it's the Connect.
Reuse.
It's the Connect thing. So it's really small. No, you don't have to go like Connect to port. You can buy anything that Sonos offers and get 30% off. Like if you wanted the Connect amp with speakers, or maybe it's called amp now with speakers. If you wanted a full 5.1 surround sound, it's 30% off that entire package. So that's
a good deal.
It's actually a killer deal. You can get hundreds of dollars off. and I just haven't, like, the sub. You can get 30% off the sub, which is amazing. Like, I should have, if I had known they were going to do this, I would have waited, because ended up buying a sub over at Best Buy, and shouldn't have done that. But I bought it for a party, and we liked it enough. I kept it, and so whatever. So the sub sits under the couch now, and I guess I can buy another sub, because there's only one thing better than having a sub. It's having two subs. So I could have bought two subs and put them in there. One would be 30% off. And that should make me feel better about myself, but it doesn't. I think I'm just probably going to sit on that 30% off. It's supposed to never expire, but maybe if I get, the hankering for some new Sonos gear, I will use that coupon. So I'm happy to have it, I guess.
I think you need subwoofer surround.
Like, just get 10 subs.
Yeah.
So
just all in the same room.
5.10. Yeah. I don't know if it works that way, Cody, but it would be nice. It would be nice. Yeah, Matthew G in the chat says, install them in a forest to play nature sounds. And see, that's recycled. Yeah, it could be, I guess. Anyway, Bruno makes a point. Amp and speakers, components themselves can last for 20 years. But I think we have to keep in mind that the stuff inside Sonos is not just an amp and speaker. It's an amp, speaker, and computer. And if we look at the amount of computers that I have sitting around me that are 10 years old, there's not one. My phone has been upgraded every single year. My computer has been upgraded every single year. I had an old iPad, but guess what? It doesn't get firmware updates anymore. It doesn't get updates anymore at all. Like, I can't get it on iOS 13. It's stuck back in like iOS 12, and it runs like garbage. So time to get a new iPad, So there's nothing on my desk that is around me that's 10 years old and a computer. And I think we kind of have to keep that in perspective when you look at something like that's smart, right? If you're going now, that can't be argued for, like the amp, right? The Connect amp still should be pretty good, but I think the cutoff on those was like 5 years ago too. So a little bit better, but not great. All right, moving on. We've got a couple things in here. Well, Savant, huge week for Savant. They announced they are going to be the first to integrate with Ring X, which is the new Ring Pro side product. They are expanding a Netgear partnership, and they have purchased, RacePoint, which is, I guess, the parent company of Savant, has purchased and acquired Noon Smart Lighting. So going to kind of browse over those three different bullet points. There's a big Savant dealer event, I guess, at the International Building, IBS, in International Building Show in Las Vegas this week. So that's what was going on. There was a bunch of dealers at this thing, and we've been getting a couple pictures in the Slack chat, the hub, which was really cool. To kind of see those kind of float by. Some of them not so cool, Cody. Some of them very disturbing. Savant's kind of going,
very.
Yeah, there's like this big guy with a beard,
several tattoos, and not nearly enough clothing.
Yeah, I don't get it. I thought that kind of all went away in the Jeremy Burkhart days. Like, I don't know.
Maybe that's Jeremy Burkhart's new role. Is he modeling?
This guy's bigger than him. Like, I don't know. Like, not in a good way. So, like, I just can't. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're trying to do there. Maybe be funny, but it didn't work for me. Anyway, just 1 week after Amazon Ring announced the launch of its new Ring X line products, exclusive to the home custom installation channel, Savant has announced that it will become the first manufacturer to fully integrate with Ring X, as well as the other, the Ring full Ring consumer line. Here's a quote from Andrew Voyanantes. I don't even know how to say his name, and I know that we talk to him at work all the time. Anyway, we're trying to partner better with the industry. Andrew's the general manager over at Ring that's leading the company's initiative for the professional installation side. The entire Ring X line is due to ship later this year, and Savant will be selling the Ring X line to its authorized dealers after the launch. So, a couple of things about this. So Cody works with me over at Blackwire. We just full disclosure, we are a Ring distributor, and we have had, literally the only Ring integration in the industry for the past 3 years. So technically, we're not the first manufacturer to offer integration with Ring X, but we certainly have had the first integration with it, an official integration with it for quite a long time. So seeing this come through on our feeds, we were like, what? Trying to scratch our heads and figure out. But it sounds like there was really relatively no details in the story about what the integration would look like. We got a few pictures and a few dealers that contacted us and said, yeah, there is like video integration with this, but only one-way audio. A bunch of mixed messages from it. We really weren't sure what the features were going to be on this at the end of the day. So kind of confusing. Messaging coming from both Savant and Ring on this. And then, it's good. I think this is a good thing to have more integration partners team up with Ring and start selling integration, especially with Savant. Like there's no API for me to write a driver for and develop for. So like it's a pretty closed off ecosystem and they can do fun things like this. So I'm glad to see that, but really would like to know a little bit more about what their integrating is. But I think the bigger news is like the Ring is going to be selling their products, basically in, I guess, the Savant dealer store directly to Savant dealers. So that's pretty huge to kind of see Ring step up and start doing that directly with manufacturers. Kind of cool.
No, Ring is like the 800-pound gorilla in the room when it comes to obviously the security camera kind of DIY market. So, it's hard to compete with the features at that price point. I think that's something that probably Savant picked up on. So it only seemed like a natural fit. And I'm glad that they have the Ring X line because I don't know if you had mentioned it, but they're saying that it includes a Ring Protect Basic plan for the lifetime of the device and a 3-year limited warranty. So that's helpful. And if it's being sold through the Savant, purchasing portal or their channels there, I'm presuming that there's some margin to be made. So that's also good for the dealers, though. If they go on QVC and they blow it out for a super cheap price, it remains to be seen if they'll match that price. But hopefully with the Ring X line, we'll get a little bit of protection on that from a dealer's perspective.
Right. Because it is it is nice to have that like subscription part kind of built into the product, that there's no like surprises to the customer. Like as a dealer, you could sell them this thing, but then like you get out there and set it up and they're like, okay, where's my recordings? And it's like, well, you kind of need to pay, $30 a year or whatever.
That's the, by the way, also.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's good that they've included that there's no like hidden fees or associated with the product. And I'm assuming that it is marked up a little bit, like you said, for that margin to be built into it for the custom integrators to make a little bit of money on it as well. The next big thing that they Savant announced was a strategic partnership with Netgear. Sounds a lot like what they are going to be offering with Ring X. The objective of this alliance between Savant and Netgear is to create networking solutions that are optimized for Savant's smart home ecosystem, streamlining design, installation, and service processes for integration professionals. So basically, the dealers will have access to 24/7 system design and support services and help increase job site efficiency. So it sounds like they're going to be doing a lot more selling of Netgear products. I guess previously, the 10 gig M4300 series switches that power Savant's video over IP solutions have been sold through the Savant store. So they're basically expanding that out to the full broader Netgear line. So good for Savant. I think we see there's plenty of other manufacturers out there that have kind of either their own network line or have teamed up with a company like this. It just makes sense for them to have this in their pocket.
Yeah, I see this as a response in a way to offer a networking line, much in the same way that Snap AV Control 4 has, Pack Edge and Arachnus, right in their wheelhouse, right? So Savant, to my knowledge, didn't have anything of their own networking brand. So them partnering with Netgear in this regard makes a lot of sense for them.
There's a lot of consolidation going on, it seems. And this is there's going to be responses to everything. Like what I kind of have a problem with, and we've kind of been talking about this on our day job, is like we start getting like homogenized versions of control systems, and sure a dealer can stand out with service and install prowess, if you will, but you are literally going to be selling apples to apples.
Yeah, exactly.
with your competition, and there's not going to be anything that sets you apart that you've been able to expertly maneuver your way around when everything comes prepackaged like this. So will be interesting. That's more of a broad topic for the overview of the industry in 10 years, but it's something to kind of keep all of our eyes on to see how it's going to play out.
For sure.
And the last thing, kind of big news this week. Savant's been growing its portfolio of smart lighting solutions over the past couple of years, and now the company will add Noon Home to its repertoire. Savant sister company RacePoint Energy announced this week that it's acquiring the talent and technology of the young lighting controls company. The announcement was made during Savant's annual dealer conference that we've been talking about, which was attended by some 600 home technology pros in Las Vegas. So this was actually shocking news. I'd heard of Noon before. It's kind of like the news came by. I'm like, who is Noon? I know I heard about these guys before. I asked on the hub, and Richard, friend of the show, Richard Gunther, had interviewed them on Home On a long time ago, and I was remembering that interview. And then I had to go look at the product, and I was like, oh, I totally remember. Like, these guys showed up at CD a couple of times. I don't know if they gained very much traction. They pivoted what they were doing from being like DIY to only selling to builders. And this seems to be the latest place that they're ending up, is being acquired by RacePoint and integrated directly into the Savant stuff. So interesting. What was I going to say? Journey this company has.
Yeah, I mean, they started out right out of the gate, not like a scrappy startup necessarily. I mean, it says that they had about $50 million in funding whenever they launched in 2017. So, I mean, they had some big boy checks. So it wasn't like they were exactly struggling in the beginning. So, and that wasn't that long ago. I mean, you're talking about just a brief 2 years before they were acquired by Savant. So they must have been doing something that they liked. So it'll be kind of interesting to see where they take this. Is this, Savant has, their panelized lighting options. And a few years ago, they bought, who was the name of that centralized lighting system that they bought that a bunch of dealers, trying to think of the name of it.
Oh, is it Light Touch?
Light Touch, yes. Yeah. And then they shuttered that pretty immediately, which was kind of interesting. But it'll be kind of interesting to see where they position this in their product line. I know a few years ago they were kind of trying to tackle the Best Buy kind of market with their product, kind of, I don't know, not necessarily leaving the CI channel, but definitely embracing more of the DIY.
Well, yeah, they've gone back the other direction completely.
Yeah, they've gone back the other direction since then, and they were like, no, just kidding. We love the dealers. We're not leaving you. Please take us seriously.
Just kidding. Psych. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be kind of interesting to see how they position this in their market space.
Yeah. There's an interesting little video that kind of shows off the quote deep integration between these Noon Home smart lighting switches and Savant. And I guess it shows them kicking off some kind of like home automation scenes using the Noon Home little weird touchscreen / Decora sized. I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of
little baby OLED touchscreen.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the look and feel of these products, but to each their own. And if they work well, they work well. But I remember seeing these guys come out, and they were like, "Yeah, we come in white, and if you're happy with that, like, I don't know, there's a lot more colors out there than white." And
there's a lot of light almond around.
and if Savant, they probably have solved that issue by now. But if Savant is kind of a premium product, right? So I assume that they're going to want to probably do more with it. The little touchscreen kind of falls in line with that. But man, I'm thinking about my clients that we have here in the nursing home state of Florida. And that little touchscreen, that's not going to fly over very well. You remember the old little 4-inch Control 4 touchscreens that used to be out years ago?
Oh yeah, the ones with the wheel.
It was after that. Sometimes it was the like on wall. Maybe Infinity Edge had like a 4-inch or 5-inch touchscreen. They were tiny.
Yes, the 5-inch.
Yeah,
those were incredibly small.
Could not read them. And we had, you would put that option in front of like a homeowner, and they were like, yeah, I don't want to spend money on the big one, but I'll get the small one for this room. And then like a couple months later, you're out there replacing it with the big one because
in all practical use, it was just
unreadable. Yeah,
useless. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe their interface is better because they're designing straight from the beginning for that little tiny postage size stamp touchscreen. But I don't know. Just doesn't seem like a fun thing to use to me, because I don't know. Some of these builders, they lower those light switches down. They're almost at hip level for handicap spec. There's like the people with disabled needs, like the stuff gets lowered on the wall, and even the plugs.
Yeah, the accessibility.
Yeah. So I can't imagine that would be fun to like stoop down and see the perfect viewing angle on that thing and use it. But I don't know. We'll see.
There's one particular part of this article on CE Pro that interests me, and they're talking about the modular infrastructure that they use. So it's very similar to another product that we know, Deco.
Yeah.
So what they're talking about here is that the Bob Madonna, CEO there, he imagines a whole house wired in this way with the inexpensive Noon back boxes that can house different sensors, thermostats, cameras, intercoms, or whatever. So he's thinking about taking the approach of, whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's a thermostat or a light or, a camera, which would be interesting to see. You would just pre-wire this back box, and then you could just put whatever module that you want in there. So that kind of gives you some real flexibility. So let's say you have like a camera and you want to swap it out for something else. I don't know what else you would put at a camera location, but you could, or a thermostat at accessible light switch height, but you could.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
I always laugh at these kind of things because they're like, they seem good in practice, but we're talking about integrators here who are primarily low voltage licensed, and not full, EC certified, electrical license certified. So like, with places and states that have licensing for that kind of thing, which I assume are most of them, probably not Texas, because you guys don't really care what you do out there in the Wild West.
You have to be a licensed electrical contractor for high voltage, but every now and then the whole low voltage licensing thing comes up, and then out come the tiki torches and the pitchforks.
Yeah. Well, that whole area of pre-wiring the house for these kind of AC products is kind of cordoned off from the typical integrator in most locales. So will be interesting to see how this plays out in the future. All the links and show topics we discussed tonight can be found on our website at HomeTech.fm/288. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter, which includes even further analysis as well as other industry news you may not have made the show. Again, that link is HomeTech.fm/288. Also, don't forget that you can join us in the chat room live Wednesday starting sometime between 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find out more on how to do that at HomeTech.fm/live. All right, so nothing in the mailbag this week, but I do have a cool pick of the week. This is a pretty one from Twitter user Mark Doring. And he said that one time a company flew me halfway across the country because they were having intermittent telco issues that no one could figure out. And there's a beautiful picture of what looks to be, I think what they've done here is they had 4-pin RJ11s plugged into 6-pin ports, and they're just kind of like crooked. So there's intermittent copper wires touching, the leads touching, and it's just a mess. It's beautiful though. It's beautiful. That just the
50% of the time it works every time.
Yeah, it's beautiful that the wrong little tiny piece of 2-cent plastic costs as much as it does. But these are the things that integrators deal with, and I don't know. It's pretty. I like it.
I'm shocked that they didn't actually try to hold it up so that it's making contact and then just fill it with super glue or hot glue or something like that to hold it in place.
Sticking paper clips until it's yeah. I could see that happening, but I don't know. I don't know what kind of business Mark is in, but I could see these types of tech support things come up all the time, and I can't say that it was surprising to see it, but it was certainly funny to see that kind of thing fly by on Twitter. If you have any feedback, questions, comments, picks of the week, or great ideas for the show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@hometech.fm, or you can visit hometech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. As always, we want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about our Patreon page, head on over to hometech.fm/support and learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where supporters of the show can gather every day and discuss Savant's beautiful, sexy pictures and talk about all the other aspects of home technology. If you want to help out but can't support the show financially, we'd appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes or a positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. HomeTech.fm is a proud member of the Technology.fm collective of podcasts. I swear this is one of the last things I have to say. You can find other great shows like Home On, The Smart Home Show, and DTNS over there at Technology.fm. Well, Cody, that wraps up the show this week. Thank you so much for jumping in and at the last minute here, helping me out on the show this week. Really appreciate the insight and conversation you added to the show this week.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks everybody for joining us over there in the live chat. We had Matthew G show up. Bruno's in there. I know Anthony's in there hanging in the background somewhere. Thanks all for showing up, and have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.